All right. All right. So that's your question. No worries. You know what? I will answer your question in a video and I'll put it up on YouTube so that everybody could get the answer for that question. All right. Take care, man. Alright, what's up with you guys? In today's video, I answer an important question, which is how do I charge my clients? So before I answer the question, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you already haven't subscribed. So the first way in which you could charge your client is the good old retainer model. So what exactly is the retainer model? In the retainer model, you sign a contract with the client where the client pays you a fixed amount every single month. You know, there are pros and cons of all the models and we'll discuss the pros and cons of every model. So the pros of the retainer model are, one, it brings income certainty, right? Let's assume your client signs up a contract with you for a year, which is great, right? And in the 10 lakh club coaching program, we teach you how to get clients to sign a 1 year contract. So if you go with the retainer model, make sure to sign at least a year-long contract. This way, the pro is you have income certainty, right? You know, for the next 12 months, you have a certain income coming from this particular client, every single month, right? So there's certainty of your income. Now, the con with this, right, the biggest drawback of this model is you do not have a long-term leverage. Now, what exactly is a long-term leverage? Right, so, let's assume it's a new company and you work really hard for the 12 months and build the brand, you start rolling in sales for this particular client, and after 12 months, this client says, you know what, now I kind of understand how the whole thing works, and you know what, bye. You get lost. Right? You're out, you're fired, or whatever, how he may think politely, but you get the point, right? So the client leaves you. You do all the hard work, you build the entire marketing machine, the sales machine for this client, and you have no leverage. All you made is that small retainer every single month. Now the retainer could be big, 1 lakh, 2 lakh. But if you think about it in the larger scheme of things, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, if the company becomes really big, you created that foundation and you have no upside, right? You have no benefits of the company going really big. So that's the downside of a retainer model. Plus, the other downside of a retainer model is the client, in the middle of the contract could one day wake up and say that, hey, you know what, I no longer want to continue the services, right? And when you do the retainer model, when you create the contract, make sure to put an exit clause so that the client suddenly one day doesn't wake up and say, hey, end of the service, right? If the client wants to terminate the service before the 12-month period, they have to pay the 2-month fee or whatever, 1-month fee, and give a 30-day notice, in advance, so that you have the time to replace the client so that your income doesn't go for a toss, right? So make sure to have the contract really, really handy, and it has to cover all the aspects so that you don't lose out on your revenue. So that's another downside of the retainer model, where the client could one day say, hey, bye, I just want to end the contract before the 12 months. So yeah, that's a downside. But all in all, it's a good model where you charge every single month for a fixed amount of time as agreed upon through a written contract. Number 2, and my phone suddenly disappeared. I kept it aside for convenience. So the second model is the only commission model. Yes, that's right. The only commission model. In the only commission model, all you charge the client for is generating sales, right? You decide the profit margin or the margin that you get on every individual sale that comes through your marketing effort. Now, the good side and the benefit of going with the only sale model is it's really easy to convince the client. If I'm a client and if you come tell me that, hey Karan, I'll get the sales for you, just pay me on every particular sale, I'll be like, hey, great, I do not lose anything, right? So I'll be like, sure, go ahead, do the marketing for me, and if you get the sale, I'm happy to pay you a certain percentage, right? So it's easier to convince the client and they have nothing to lose. So that's a really big benefit. You can have a lot of clients closing with the only sales model. Now the downside, and there's a big downside with this model, is one, you have no long-term leverage. Number two, the biggest downside is you have no fixed monthly income. Yes, that's right? Because you can't really predict how much sales would you be able to generate every single month, right? And most likely you won't be able to predict if you would be able to get even the first sale. Really depends on the market, the product, the company, their reputation, and a lot of other factors, right? So that's a bit of a downside with this model. There's no consistency in income. But again, it's a good model to start working with bigger brands and start flaunting the names and building your profile. And of course, if you feel like the company has a great reputation in the market, and if you could clearly see all those loopholes in the marketing that if you could fix, the company could start generating a lot of sales. Or if a certain company has offline presence, but it's a good brand, but they don't do a lot online, there's a big leverage there, right? So in those cases, I think using this model is the best, because it can immediately turn the client in, and you have a big name working with you. You can even flaunt that clients we work with, and plus there's a big potential of making revenue with getting a part of the profit from every sale you bring to the table. So I would use this in cases where I discover that the company is really great and they lack the potential. For example, you enter their email list, you enter their funnel and see maybe they're not doing good email marketing. If you write great emails, you will increase the sale and make money for yourself and the company. Or probably they have no retargeting ads, no SMS campaigns, no WhatsApp campaigns, no follow-up, none of that. And when you put all of these things in place, the company would start rolling in the sales. So that's a great advantage. Go ahead and do that, and sign up clients like these. Or a lot of times bigger brands, when you're just starting out, or big names may not be willing to work with you for a retainer model. It will be really hard to convince them. And in those cases, sign up for a model like this and generate results, and they'll be really happy with the results you generate if you do. And then you can turn them into a retainer, because then you become indispensable to them, right? So that's a big advantage. But a word of caution: when you and sign up a client on this model, make it a point to have real clear transparency in the contract. What do I mean by transparency? A lot of times when the clients start generating sales, how do you know how many sales came in? Like if it's online, then great. You can get access to the dashboard. You can ask them for the logins or send you the statement, and you can see through. But what if it's a B2B company, or what if a lot of sales also happen offline through your efforts? Then how do you know how many sales were actually generated thanks to your results? I have in my career come across clients who are very sneaky and sad to say that, but there are clients like that who would not reveal the true number. For one of the clients I had, they generated about 1.6 lakhs in revenue thanks to the influencer marketing we did for them. And the client never reported the sale. It was the influencer who came out and said that my friend got XYZ products, and we knew that we generated those sales. So when you do not have a proper discussion prior to the start of the service, that how would the client show you the numbers, it's going to be really gray. So make it a point to have that clarity beforehand. And what I suggest is ask your clients to share the monthly revenue statement, and not just the revenue statement but the bank statement. That makes it really clear. Now a lot of clients may not be comfortable with that, so then you have to go back on the discussion table and figure out a different way. Because what, at the end of the day, if you do not know the actual numbers, the clients may pay you way less than what you generate. So that's a big loss for you. So have that discussion beforehand, because this is a big drawback in the method. If you do not have a clear way to decide how many sales came in and what's the method for transparency, you could be the one losing out big time here. The third method is the retainer plus commission model. Now, the third method is a combination of the first two methods. In this, you charge the client a basic amount, right? Not the big retainer per month, but a basic amount that covers your costing, and then the rest of the money that you get paid is a commission, the profit on every sale you generate, right? That's the basic model. It's a combination of the first two models. So the pros are, one, in marketing, your costs are covered, so whatever money you spend And you also have a certain income certainty. Okay, at the end of the month I'm getting so much money, irrespective of me generating the sales or not. Of course, you spend your time, you invest your time, so you're getting the money covered for that. So it covers the money for your investment of time and probably work. And if you have people in your team, then for those people, so you cover your costs. So that's what the basic model, this model does. And whatever results you generate over and above, you get paid commission on that, right? So it's a kind of a mixture of the model. So pros 100%, your costs are covered, so that at least you're not wasting if you do not generate any sales. So at least your time invested or wasted was covered to an extent in this model. But the drawback, again, it lacks transparency unless previously decided on how the sales are going to be shown to you as a service provider. And the other disadvantage is, of course, that the client can any day wake up and say, you know what, I don't want to pay you, I want to stop the contract, please go away, right? So that could happen. So make it a point that when you sign the contract, again, one, have clear terms on the transparency factor. And number two, if the client wants to cancel the contract, they need to give you a notice of 1 month or 2 months, and pay you in advance for those 2 months if they want to cancel immediately. So that should be really, really clearly stated. Again, this model has no long-term leverage, because the moment you start generating the sales, you build the entire machine, the funnel, and once the client understands that, they may want to take you out and get somebody in-house cheaper, or they may think that I could do this myself. It happens, right? So you may lose the client, and you have no upside when the company is doing really, really well. So that's a drawback of the model, but it's a good model. All the three models are great models, and you would be using one or the other or the third one depending on the time, the client, and the scenario. But you know what, it's not over. I have a bonus model for you, and the bonus model is the partnership model. Yes, the partnership model. Now this is the model, this is my favorite model, and this is how I prefer working with clients. So in this model, the client pays you a retainer, and the retainer is not a small amount, it's a big amount, right? So normally the retainer that we charge is about 1 to 1.5 lakh rupees a month. And apart from the retainer, I also ask them for a stake in the company, and this stake is not like a 1 month contract or a 12-month contract. It's in perpetuity. And if it's a big organization like a private limited company, I would ask for shares in the company, or sometimes if I know I could really turn around the company and get the company a lot of sales, I could also ask for the directorship. So at this point I have personally partnerships in quite a few companies, and this is the model I prefer working in. Of course, this model may not be that great if you're looking at working with a startup with no capital. I would look at an established company that's generating enough sales that you want to get caught up with the company and get into a partnership. The advantage of this model is you have monthly certainty in revenue, and not just that, you have longer term leverage, which is the best part about this model. But there is a drawback with this model, and the drawback is if you get stuck with the wrong partners and the wrong leaders, then it could be a lot of stress and hassle and time waste. For example, if you get stuck with some business owners who actually do not want to grow, who resist growth, and who are very content in how the business is going. So you becoming a partner, putting in so much time and treating it like your own company, because now you know that your revenue is dependent on how much the company grows, and you could actually make a lot of money if the company grows. And you're working all hard, but hey, your new partners now are not really growth driven, right? They're very complacent. So you get stuck with them, it's stressful, and then you really want to sell your shares and get out of the company and end the partnership. So it's happened with me. So it's a catch-22, but most times it turns out to be a great model, especially with the long-term leverage. So in this video we discussed 4 different ways in which you can charge your clients, and I use all the different ways. I use all the 4 ways even up to this point. Sometimes I go with the retainer model, sometimes I go with only sales, sometimes the combination model, and most times the partnership model. Which model you should go ahead with really depends on 2 things. 1, the business. right? What kind of a business is it, the reputation of the business, and how much money can you actually make, how easy is the product to sell in the marketplace, the competition. So study the business as a whole. And number two, and the most important factor, the business owners, the leaders of the business. Who are these people that you are getting into partnership with? And when I say partnership, it's not just a actual partnership model, but even on a retainer or even on a sales model. If the people are not ethical, if the people are not moral, then you will face situations where they do not share the actual sales that you generate for them. They won't give you the actual commission that you should be paid, right? So it really depends on when I encounter people like that, when I feel like this guy or this girl doesn't look moral, then I go with the retainer model, because I know they're never going to be truthful, right? So that depends on your judgment. So study the business owners most importantly, and decide which model to go ahead with. I hope this video was of help to you. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and this is my another channel, so make sure to like the channel, subscribe. See you soon.